All right, so we're diving into some serious political drama today, the kind that makes you wonder, are we watching a campaign implode in real time?
Well, let's just say things are getting spicy down in Texas.
Texas, always good for some political theater, right?
Mhm.
But seriously, the Cook Political Report, the gold standard for election forecasting, they just downgraded the Texas Senate race from likely Republican to lean Republican.
Which, for anyone who's not a political junkie, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
That's them saying this race is getting way too close for comfort, especially for an incumbent like Ted Cruz.
Exactly. I mean, everyone thought Cruz was a shoo-in. This was supposed to be his victory lap.
Right. Like Texas, Republican stronghold, he's been the senator there since 2013. You'd think he'd be coasting to victory.
Exactly. But now things are getting interesting, to say the least.
And a big part of that interesting is Colin Allred.
Cruz's Democratic challenger. Yeah, he's not your typical candidate.
No, not at all. I mean, where do you even start? Former NFL player, played for the Titans, then went on to the Obama Justice Department.
Three-term congressman, knows how to win elections.
Exactly. And he's got this charisma, this energy that's really resonating with voters. Even some Republicans are saying, hey, this guy's the real deal.
Right, and it's not just talk. He's got the numbers to back it up. I mean, $10.5 million cash on hand at the end of June.
And the rumor mill, it's saying that number's gone way up since then. Way up.
Which you have to imagine, that's got to have Ted Cruz sweating a little bit, right?
Well, you know what they say. Money talks in politics. And Allred's got a lot of people talking. Meanwhile, Cruz is over here sounding the alarm bells.
Oh, yeah, big time. Practically begging for donations, saying he's being swamped by all this money from, who else? Chuck Schumer, George Soros, the usual suspects in his book. But okay, here's where it gets really good. Cruz, the guy who's built his entire career on being, let's say, confrontational.
Put it mildly.
He's suddenly trying to rebrand himself as, get this, Mr. Bipartisan.
Right. The king of reaching across the aisle.
He actually had the, I don't know, audacity to brag about his record of passing bipartisan legislation. And you, being the political aficionado that you are, I'm sure you had the same thought I did. Since when?
Okay, so I actually looked this up because I thought, no way. There's no way this is his strategy.
Yeah.
There's this thing called the Lugar Center McCourt School Bipartisan Index. They analyze how often senators work with the other side, actual bipartisanship.
Okay, so where does Cruz rank?
Out of 98 senators, 89th.
Ouch. So much for Mr. Bipartisan.
Right. It's like he's trying to rewrite his entire political history.
Yeah.
And speaking of rewriting history, let's not forget some of his greatest hits, calling Democrats destroyers of the Constitution, fully backing Trump's claims about the 2020 election.
Ah, yes, the classics.
And who could forget my personal favorite, former House Speaker John Boehner, calling Cruz, and I quote, a miserable son of a BH. Even his own party, they've got some choice words for him.
I mean, it's almost comical. This is Ted Cruz we're talking about.
Right. The guy's built a career on being Mr. Anti-Establishment.
Exactly. And now he wants us to believe he's Mr. Compromise. Come on.
It's a tough sell, for sure. But it makes you wonder, like, is this just a desperate attempt to save his political skin?
Or has he actually had some kind of, I don't know, epiphany?
Well, if it is an epiphany, it's awfully convenient that it happened right when his poll numbers started to slip.
Right, like, oh no, people are actually taking this Allred guy seriously. Time to break out my bipartisan talking points.
It's exactly. It's hard to take it seriously, It's like he read the How to Win an Election for Dummies book and skipped to the chapter on appealing to moderates.
And completely ignored the chapter on authenticity.
Exactly. But, all joking aside, it does make you think. If a hardliner like Cruz is feeling the need to soften his image, even in Texas,
It makes you wonder, is that kind of firebrand conservatism losing its appeal?
it's a fascinating question. Texas is changing, no doubt about it. I mean, look at the demographics. It's not your grandpa's Texas anymore.
Right, it's becoming more diverse, more urban, and maybe, just maybe, more open to something other than the same old Republican playbook.
And that's what makes this race so interesting. It's like a microcosm of what's happening in the Republican Party as a whole.
Right, it's like, can they adapt to this changing electorate? Or are they going to dig in their heels and double down on the stuff that might not be resonating anymore?
And to be fair, the Cook Political Report, even though they changed their rating, they're not saying Texas is about to turn blue or anything.
Right, it's still an uphill battle for Allred, no doubt.
But the fact that it's even a race, that's huge.
Huge. I mean, it's like a little crack in the Republican armor.
And you got to wonder, if it can happen in Texas, where else could it happen?
It really feels like we're watching a political thriller in slow motion,
Oh, absolutely. And the stakes. sky high.
Right. We're talking about control of the Senate, the future of Texas politics.
And let's be real, this could be a crystal ball, giving us a glimpse into the future of the Republican Party itself.
Okay, so last question, and it's a big one. Can Ted Cruz actually pull this off? Can he really rewrite his image and convince Texans, especially those moderate voters he needs, that he's a changed man?
Well, he's definitely got his work cut out for him. Texans, they know Ted Cruz. They've seen his act before.
So the question is, are they buying this whole bipartisan makeover, or are they going to see right through it?
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because if he can pull it off, if he can thread that needle, well, it'll be a masterclass in political maneuvering.
A masterclass in political survival, maybe, but if he can't convince Texans that he's changed,
It could be a very, very long night for Ted Cruz come November.
it's going to be a nail-biter, that's for sure. And look, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, you got to admit, this Texas Senate race, it's more than just your average election.
Oh, absolutely. It's a referendum on the direction of the country, a battle for the soul of Texas, and maybe, just maybe, a sign of things to come in American politics.
So there you have it, your deep dive into one of the most consequential and, let's be honest, entertaining elections in the country. And as we head into the final stretch of this campaign season, one thing is certain, we'll be watching Texas very, very closely.
Because what happens in Texas, it doesn't stay in Texas. It could very well determine the future of American politics.